Hi there, I'm Wild Humphrey, the Fact Master they call me, because I'll tell you all the things you never knew you didn't know, and some that you probably do. Now today we're on the 2nd of October, and lots of different things have happened today throughout the times, but one thing in particular I've got to share with you. There was a future king born today in 1452. And his name was Richard III. Now Richard was born to his father and mother, who were the Duke and Duchess of York. And Richard has a colourful life, a colourful history. And thanks to Shakespeare, really, Richard hasn't had a particularly good name in history, but he did many things. He was a warrior king for a start, and he was a prominent leader in the Wars of the Roses, where he supported his brother, King Edward IV, throughout that time. Now, the throne of England would change more than once during the Wars of the Roses, from Henry VI to Edward IV, back to Henry VI, and then back to Edward IV again. And one thing you say about Richard, he was fiercely loyal to his brother, fiercely, and even to the point where if anyone got in the way, he would just kill him off. Didn't mess about, Richard. As I say, he was a warrior, and he thought he'd never actually get to the throne. But surprisingly, in 1483, on the 9th of April, his brother had taken ill and actually died after a fishing trip, which this left Richard looking after his nephews, and one of those nephews was Edward V. Now Edward V was only a young boy when his father died, and Richard thought to himself, I need to find out a way how I can be king, because I'm certainly not going to support this young lad. So bit by bit he worked a few things out, and he got the agreement that he would rule England as king on the 26th of June 1483. And that same year, in the September, his nephews, he put them in the Tower of London for their safety, and they were never seen again, and they became known as the Princes in the Tower. And Richard had all but won the Wars of the Roses. But then in 1485, Henry Tudor arrived in England. He'd been in hiding in France. He came back and he wants to claim the crown of England. So on the 22nd of August that year, the Battle of Bosworth was fought, and Richard, as king, was deserted by many of his main men, leaving him isolated on the battlefield. And he was killed, and actually the last king ever to be killed in battle was Richard III. Shakespeare famously says that his last words were, my horse, a kingdom for my horse," but they weren't quite his last words. They were more like, I'm a king of England, I shall not budge a foot, I shall die like a king, something like that. Anyway, he was slain that day, and his body mutilated and taken away to Leicester. On that very battlefield, Henry Tudor was crowned as Henry VII of England, the only king ever to be crowned on a battlefield. But Richard, the story didn't finish there. In the year 2012, over 500 years later, there was a body found beneath the car park in Leicester. And when they checked out this body, turns out it was King Richard III. He'd been there all that time. So the funeral, the king's procession of a funeral he never had, finally took place on the 26th of March 2015. And that's a fact. So regardless what anyone says or what others think about Richard III, he was a true warrior king. He was loyal right to the end to the House of York, and he was the last of the Plantagenets, a dynasty that boasted 14 kings. It started with Henry III, started with Henry II, finished with Richard III. Now there's only been 3 Richards in the history of the British monarchy. Richard I was killed in France with a crossbow into his heart. Richard II, Richard I was killed and died on the 6th of April 1199. Richard II was forced to abdicate the throne by Henry IV, and Richard II was then starved to death and died 14th of February 1400. Richard III was the last king ever to be killed on a battlefield, 22nd of August 1485. Perhaps the name as a king of Richard is cursed, because there's not been another one since, and that is a fact. But Richard III, there's a lot more to him than might meet the eye. Worth looking him up, and that is a fact. I'm Wild Humphrey, the fact master they call me. I'll tell you all those things you never knew you didn't know, and that's a fact. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. See you soon.